Hi everybody, my name is Bill Pear and you are welcome to another episode of Runner in Development, and this week I'm going to cover off iliotibial band syndrome, or ITBS. So what is ITBS? Well, ITBS is inflammation of the iliotibial band that runs down the side of your leg between your hip and your knee. And this diagram here shows it nicely. It's a condition that occurs apparently in 12% of runners, and it's caused by it's an overuse injury. And effectively, what it is, it's the bending back and forth action between your upper and lower leg that causes this band to rub off the side of your knee and become inflamed. And my experience of it was that it started in my right leg, and it took some time before it kind of sort of builds a little bit over time before you kind of notice it building, and then eventually one day you'll be out running. So I was out running probably about 20k when all of a sudden my leg, it became so painful around my knee that my leg basically stopped working, and I just wasn't able to run. I tried to kind of start back up, and there was just no way. My leg was just not going to cooperate, and I ended up having to walk home. It was effectively too painful for me to even go out on short runs. So what I had to try and do was, if I went back out after a week of resting it, there's just no way I could run in it. And eventually what happened was I decided that I was going to have to give up running for a few months just to see, because every time I went back out my leg was really, really painful. And in the meantime then what I started to do was I started to do some stretching exercises. And the stretching exercises effectively, because of the band, the way the band works is that it's one of these, it's a part of the body that apparently is very hard to stretch because it's down the side of your leg. And also the tissue that the ITB is made up of isn't very stretching. So it's quite a difficult thing to stretch. Now if you Google the stretches, you'll get some very good ones. I have used them to help with my leg. But what I generally did was that when I did start to recover, if I went out on shorter runs, I always came home and basically tried to stretch out my leg as much as possible. As well as stretching and taking time off from running, what I also invested in was a roller. So it's one of these roller things here as well. And effectively what it is then is you put that under your leg and you roll back and forth. I'm sure people are familiar with them. You have to be careful though, because you're not supposed to roll where it's sore. And in fact, I've been reading some material and they're saying that rolling on it can inflame it even more if you're not careful. So the whole idea is what you're trying to do is you're trying to relax the band in some way, and that's what the purpose of the rolling is. I also invested in one of these. It's a band, a kind of stretchy band here that what you can do then is it provides some resistance to you if you're trying to stretch out your leg. And I used that a certain amount, and I did use the roller a lot. What I tended to do was just use stretches that I'd found off the internet. The rolling and the stretching is effective, but I found the best thing and the thing that's recommended was rest. So I did take about a month or 6 weeks off from running, and I found that when I did start back running, my leg was still a little bit, I think maybe a little bit stiff, and I began then to, every time after each run I would stretch my leg. Now I didn't stretch before the race, but what I did do was stretch when I was at home and stretch immediately after any kind of race. I did a 5k run, and after the run I could feel that was the first longest run. It was a night run in Dublin, the first longest run that I had done in a while, and I did that, and there was a little bit of tightness in my leg, and I stretched out after it and I noticed it was fine. So I gradually took back up running again, and I started to extend the distances out, because I'm one of these people that likes to take long runs. All the rigmarole, I think I said in earlier videos, the rigmarole of kind of getting ready to go out and maybe just going out and doing 5k, it just doesn't seem worthwhile to me. So I do have a tendency to want to do long runs. And a lot of the runs that I do are on roads. And so obviously the camber apparently on the road, with the kind of this kind of effect on the road, and you're running on the edge, it does affect, having one leg higher than the other, apparently they can irritate it. And so what I found was then, after a little bit of time, because I was very focused on my right leg, I noticed that my left leg then started to act up. So now my right leg is fine and I never have any problems with it, and I'm dealing with my left leg. And it's exact same situation again, where what it is that when I go out for runs, I'm basically, I was out on a long run, and then when I was coming back, I was trying to get about 30k run done. And when I was on my way back, I'd done 16 and I was on my way back, and when I got to about 21, 22, I started to notice the familiar feeling in my knee that I'd had in my right leg. And about 2 or 3 K later, basically my leg I was so much pain in my leg that I couldn't run. So that's some months back. And I've actually been trying to work with it as much as I can, but I think I've come to the conclusion now that what I'm going to have to do is rest up. I did manage to run the Clontarf half marathon, and that was back on the 5th of July. And I did manage to complete it with the assistance of some painkillers, and also, taking my time. I had to stop at one stage in the race and walk for a few kilometers, and then I was able to run back. So I did manage to get the half marathon finished. But I have noticed I'm probably paying the price right now because my left leg is quite sore. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I went out to do just a 3K run, and I noticed that after the 3 kilometers that my leg was quite sore the next day. And I went out for a run yesterday, and after only 2 kilometers, my leg was quite sore again. Now I'm not pushing it, so what I'm doing is I'm stopping the run once I feel the pain, and then what I'm doing then basically is walking home. But I have come to the conclusion that what I'm going to have to basically do is stop running for maybe a month or 6 weeks and just see what happens. And that's probably the price I'm going to have to pay for, pushing my leg. There are some good websites out there and some interesting things where what I have is classic ITBS, and it's the classic case that after a certain particular period of running, that I notice my leg starts to flare up, and it is quite painful in and around the knee joint. So like I said, I'm going to have to stop the running. This is quite difficult for me to give up the running because really, it's a big outlet for me. It's a great stress buster, and it's something that I enjoy doing. So what I want to do is kind of get back out. So the temptation is always to try and get back out in the running. But I think now what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to effectively have to knock it on the head. So that gives me probably towards the end of August to maybe see, if I recover if my ITBS can go away. And what I'll do is I'll wait the month, and then what I'll do is I will report back on it. So that's really all there is for me on ITBS. If you have any questions or any issues, feel free to send them on to me, and I appreciate you watching my video. So next week I'm going to cover off the Clontarf half marathon, which is the half marathon that I ran with my ITBS, but it's a super half marathon and I really enjoyed it. So what I'd like to do is just make a video on that. Thanks for watching, and I hopefully will talk to you next week. Take care, bye bye.